And I'm
Yes.
telling Warren Buffett was, if one thing I learned from Warren Buffett is definitely those seven. I think it's Warren Buffett, seven
Yes.
streams of income.
100%.
Maybe it's not seven, maybe it's four, maybe it's six, whatever it is to you. For me, if one dies, slow down, the market changes and that, and I haven't quite figured out that, I have another thing to have a backup for, right? So I don't take for granted that my talent is going to always get me through.
Yeah.
You gotta plan.
Everyday life can look a little bit different, and entrepreneurship can definitely look a little bit different as we are crossing over 40 and the different life chapters. In today's conversation, I'm super excited because some of you may be either deciding to go into entrepreneurship or you've already been running a business and you're kind of in this place of like what to do next and just really wanting to hear honest conversation about what that journey has looked like, how has it evolved, and I'm super excited to be digging into this. And it's funny because I had to look back and see like how long. I feel like it's been like seven,
If
eight
I've
years.
been in my build, it has to be because I've been here where I stay 8 years. So it has to be like eight going into
Into
probably ninth
nine.
year. Yes,
Yeah, because you
yes.
were at the community that I was like, hey. So my amazing is Sherron Washington. We're both in we both were in the DC area. She's a great brand and marketing specialist, and that's how we originally crossed paths. Was through seeing some of her content, and then some people don't know I have an event business, and so it happened to be that at one of the communities that I was serving. We are like, oh my gosh, I get to meet you in real life. And here we are in 2025 and we're doing this great conversation. So thank you so very much for saying yes today.
Absolutely. Anytime I get to talk about entrepreneurship, like the real about entrepreneurship, and I've done it all. I've done a lot, I should say, not it all, but a lot. So it's a lot to talk about in that space.
But I think too, like by you, the way you just shared, people sometimes assume it's a one way direction or it's only one direction and that's up. And
Right.
what we find,
I'm sorry. Yeah, yeah.
but it was funny, like during the pandemic, some of the content I was seeing from people, and I'm like, everybody's in Bali with Louis Vuitton bags. I'm like, what a and no one needs to work for
Yes.
anyone and all this
No.
rhetoric that was floating around. I'm like, what am I doing wrong?
That's it. Right. Yes. Like 2 years after the pandemic, it made you question your decisions, right? Not at
Yes.
all. Not at all.
So
Yes.
share a little bit about your entrepreneur journey and then we'll just have like a candid conversation because I think as we evolve, because we're either spouses, we have children, then we're grandparents, or we're aging parents, or we're in the sandwich era, which I don't think we often talk about, where we have either kids and grandkids, or we
Yes.
have
Yes.
adult
Baby
parents
parents.
that act like children, depending. So share a little bit about your journey, a little bit, and then we'll dig into it.
So, a real fact, and probably wide known fact, because I say it all the time, I never wanted to be an entrepreneur. So, this was not my dream. I wasn't a kid, and I was like, oh, to have my own business. Never in a million years did I think. I think I was going to be a leader, senior executive in someone's corporation. Absolutely. But the idea of entrepreneurship wasn't there. Like I could do it myself. And it could be one of two things. It could be, so I am a native Washingtonian. I attended DC public schools, and the narrative there was federal government, right? Federal
Hmm.
government, the police department, or fire department. So they had programs set up for the kids who weren't listed as extraordinary, right? Well, regular kids, right? Like
Yes.
myself, who hadn't really come into my talent or whatever that is, whatever the stipulations was for that. During those times, they had specialty schools, pre-engineering, other stuff in different schools, and I was just At that time, I didn't come into who I am today.
Mhm.
Maybe other people recognized it, but I could tell you I didn't. So they gave these options, and I was like, and I think back as I'm talking to you, maybe it was. I did feel a little bit entrepreneurial in a
Mhm.
sense because I was like, I'm not doing any of that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be a realtor. But it was, again, it never dawned on me that I was going to be a CEO of anything, of my own
Mhm.
company. It just didn't dawn on me. So, let's see. Fast forward. So I had my son. Fast forward about 9 years, I went back to school. So there was somebody who said, you should go back to school. Went back to school. I was still working in, during that time, the association space.
Mm.
So yes, I'm an association girly from the beginning. Love associations. And if you know me, shout out to all of the associations I've ever worked with. It
I
was
saw a lot
nine
of
of them,
content about
Jesse.
I
Nine.
saw a lot of content on YouTube with you speaking at associations as a marketing expert. And I was like,
I'm an association girl. Yes. So I worked in associations, and then my entrepreneurial speaker path brought me back to association. So I know I know membership. I know all of these things, right?
yeah.
And I've been to a lot of different associations, a lot of different industries in associations. So I was there, and I thought I was going to be there. I worked for this one association, Kim. What's Kim's last name? Can't think of Kim's last name, but Kim. I worked for Kim at the Bill of Rights Institute in '06. And I was like, I'm tired of, I had got my degrees. I started my first year of adjunct teaching. And I told Kim, I don't want to travel anymore because I had my son. And
Yeah.
like, I was just really sick of traveling. Right. And that was 3 years into my relationships. I probably was all in love, and I
Like, I don't want to
didn't
be
want to go nowhere.
away.
I don't want to be away. I want to be,
Yeah.
ask me that today. I mean, I still am. Shout out to my ways of husband. But I'd rather for us to travel. He probably hears me when I'm talking right now. So Kim suggested, why don't you become a consultant for us?
Mhm.
And then you won't have to travel. And they granted me the ability to try on being an entrepreneur in that moment for those couple of years I was with them as a consultant.
Mhm.
And I thought that was wonderful until I stopped doing the work, finding clients. So I was like, oh, this is sweet. I did graphic design. Somebody else gave me their clients I was gifted the chance to try it out. That, for your audience members, that absolutely does not happen. I
Yeah.
was gifted clients until I did not, and I'm in marketing. I did not uh, prime the pump. So I didn't keep
Yeah.
the clients. I didn't get new clients or things like that.
Yeah.
So that's how I started.
But like I appreciate that because I feel that a lot of narrative about entrepreneurship has definitely shifted in the last 4 to 5 years. I would say that in my journey, my mom had a daycare center and she was also a DC public school teacher. So I always saw both. So it never was
Yes.
romanticized. I never, outside of when we had that last recession, I remember she had started as a passion project that did really well right before the bubble, was that she did recruiting and job placement. And she had a very lucrative
Yes.
consulting contracting business where she was placing people into jobs and things like that. And even still with doing that, she still had a full-time job. So I always like, I don't know how she did. I mean, I guess it was the value of paying people to help support because I didn't, all of our family was down south and she had to keep me up north. So she had to find resources. So that meant I was in a lot of after school care programs and things like that. So that gave some
Uh-huh.
leeway. And she always had office managers that ran the businesses so that she
Oh,
only had to
nice.
plug in a few hours. So I always saw both. And then even for myself, like I kind of would say just and it's funny, I never even thought of how in DC we were put on these tracks. And with a lot of things that are going on right now, people like I just don't like my DC friends like I just don't get it. And I'm like, but you won't get it. I'm like, because we are raised and grew up in a different space where even if you were someone that was going to school for tech because you were an engineer, you were still expected to have some level of education and awareness. So it didn't matter if you were someone that was going, they were like, oh, you're going to do government and you're going to be a federal work.
Yeah.
Like you still were pushed to learn something and know something in that space. And so even though I went to Banneker, which is kind of like a very academic school, especially, but I mean, even now I saw the new school. I was like, oh my goodness,
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
I'm like, our building was I mean, it wasn't bad, but it was very DC basic, like building shell, it was just that they had other
Well, we had
resources.
more of a prison design. So
Oh,
it was open space for
yeah.
Dunbar. So you can say it. It's hard concrete.
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
went back, I think, before they tore the building down, and I was like, are these the same carpets from '88?
But you know what? It's funny if you said that you were at Dunbar. My mom probably, but you wouldn't have known her because she was a special education teacher. But she was actually at
What was her
Dunbar.
name?
Cheryl Gary. And we look a
Okay.
lot alike, and I mean, but she was special education. And so growing up in that space, like I always thought like I'm gonna work my way up to C-suite. Like my mind, like I was at graduation for college and I was already like, Mom, I think I'm gonna go back to get my master's degree. Like that was kind of my mindset. And I always said to her, once I get established there, then I might do some business on the side because that's unknowingly now when I think about it, it's probably because that's what I saw her do. Because she did all the education and then went to
Right.
school and then started businesses and things like that. So I kind of was replicating the pathway that I saw her do. So with going into entrepreneurship, it was never intentional, and it wasn't sexy. I think that's now why you have a lot of people that are joining in into that space, regardless if you're 40 or 20 or 30. And this is not to tell you not to do it, but I also think that there needs to be some realities. And it doesn't mean that your path has to look like either one of ours. However, I think that the amount of work, the sacrifice, and the dedication that it takes, because we only see some of the fruits, which can be paid in marketing fruits.
Yeah, fruits, fruits.
Fruits.
Yeah, that's what we call them. Yes, it's
Yes.
fruits. I'm going to call it, I'm going to just make it sustenance because sometimes it's not sugary. I'm just going to go
But
fruits, sustenance. It
yeah,
feeds, right? It fuels.
the
Yes.
fields, but that like people see all of what they're hanging to almost a lot of times sell the courses to sell what they want you to buy into without sharing what entrepreneurship looks like. And the thing is that I know a lot of people that are in the entrepreneur space that don't do sexy businesses. They have lawn care businesses, they have plumbing, and honestly, those are some of the industries that really are needing that because you're having a bunch of people that are retiring out. And what happens is that people aren't entering into it. So when you're thinking about entrepreneurship over 40, I think one of the things from even just your share is thinking about what are some of the life skill sets I have accomplished over my journey and how can I possibly serve a need, to people now, because even though that wasn't your intention, you already were learning. And I think that there's so much in the journey of learning and learning how you can use that to leverage for either part-time or full-time income, which is an amazing thing.
Well, I think you have to first want it. So
Yeah.
sure, you could have, and you can learn those skill sets, but it has to be a desire, not to be an entrepreneur, but to your point, to deliver a service. Now, here's what I've learned, and I'm the over 50 club, right? So
Hmm.
I'll be
Yeah.
52 in August. And I started my business like right late 30s or what have you. And I really didn't get solidified in my business. I'm going to say until, if I'm 52, maybe 48.
Hmm.
Like it took me a long time
Yeah.
to figure out, here's the number one thing that no one will tell you. I don't care what you're doing in your business today, it's going to change tomorrow. So be okay with you. You have to almost be like, oh, whatever. Like,
Yeah.
okay. So you say marketing and like for instance, marketing expert. I'm no longer, that's not my title. anymore. I'm actually in curriculum and training development. Yes, in marketing.
Nice.
And so I pivoted. Yeah,
Yeah.
it feels great. It feels great.
Yeah.
But I no longer service marketing for businesses anymore.
Yeah.
I service training. So it's not
Yeah.
your marketing piece because I found in this movement, to your point, that there's no longer a large supply of businesses who want marketing services because there's
Yeah.
ChatGPT, the Canva, like
Yeah.
the type of services they want. They want strategy and they
Yeah.
want to be trained on how to use these tools. Perfect for me because now I can scale up. I don't have to do it myself. I can have other people do it. So exposing, understanding what entrepreneurship is and being an owner is not just having a title, but understanding how you're going to be adaptable with your skill sets in the moment.
Yeah.
Because today they need training and curriculum. I don't know about tomorrow. I really
Right.
don't. I
I
really don't.
I like that you mentioned about the adaptability. And that's the part too. And even you and I have had transparent conversations because at some points I was like, okay, do I re-enter into workforce? Because with doing events in the pandemic, like all of that stuff like tanked out. And then I'm in a position where I'm like, man, I'm in my late 30s. Do I even want to rebuild it? Like that is the part about entrepreneurship, like how you, and I've been doing it since I'm going into my 15th year, and there's been ups, there's been downs, and there's also been this moment where once I got 39, that's when it got real clear for me. And that, like that was kind of like the pandemic going into it. And I was like, do I really see myself doing this at 50? I had that conversation with myself where I'm like, do I really see this? And then that's when I started reaching out to you and a few other people. And definitely in the last year, where I'm like, I love the freedom. I love the fact that, like, right now I'm babysitting. I can do, they're like, Jesse, you have a fun job. For them, a fun job is because I get to stay with them. I'm like, girl, you don't even
Yeah,
know
nah,
what,
you didn't
like,
even you hit there. Like,
the struggle.
fun. Yay, it's fun.
It's fun. Like, now I'm working. And so being in a place of like, do I see myself doing this at 50? Is it something I feel like doing at 60? And that is part of also the evolution. So you have two things that are evolving, you and the industry. So I'm glad that you mentioned about realizing like, okay, there's a shift in my industry and what people are seeking, and this is how I'm going to pivot. I feel like that pivot word was abused for 4 years, but it's really just taking a time to be flexible because business is flexible. Because think about it, Blockbuster isn't around. I used to love some Blockbuster too.
I love Blockbuster too. I can't like
Yeah,
really.
it was fun, like going in there and you getting your had your little. That was my first like card outside of my library card.
I love
My
it.
block.
I love it. I love it.
But they didn't evolve, and even still, Redbox, which replaced Blockbuster.
Well, not even evolution, because the evolution of it was it became the way the delivery of it, the
Mm,
delivery of movies became different.
yeah,
People are not going to movies. There are not a lot of movie theaters
yeah,
anymore, right? Like, or people are working in movie theaters. I think so. Evolution, because what I'm doing now is actually repurposing old tricks.
mm,
It's not really, it evolves because I'm adapting to what the scenario is now
yeah.
to that. But did my business evolve? I think I've always been in training and curriculum.
Mm.
I think I've always been in training.
Is the audience then different, or is it still the same audience, but you repackage what you're offering to them?
But both. So I believe in segmentation in this space. So these large, having these large audiences of, I'm going to go with women or even women in a certain region can sometimes become too large. Oftentimes, as an entrepreneur, I will add this. If you're thinking about becoming an entrepreneur, especially how times are rolling now, you really have to understand, does the market have the marketplace you want have the capacity to make the money that you want? Because you get into this and you say, yeah, I got 10 friends who love my pies. So, I mean, and look, right? I mean, or 20 or 50
Yeah,
friends that love my pies, right? So I'm going to go into this pie making business. That is not a good way to enter this entrepreneurial space, specifically as we have financial uncertainty.
Yes.
I would say go partner with somebody who already has a bakery that may be like transitioning. I don't know how to move this forward, and you figure it out together, because you don't have to reinvent the wheel. But people are so busy wanting the title
Yes.
of entrepreneurship, they don't understand the effort that comes with it.
Collaboration is so key because even I was volunteering at my church at one of the programs, and this young lady, she was going to school for uh I believe something in therapy, if I remember. And she was like,
Okay.
I want to be able to serve this kind of client, and I think I want to start a nonprofit. I was like, oh, that's awesome. I love your passion for this. I was like, but there's not a shortage of nonprofits. It's like, what I'd rather you do is to offer your service to a nonprofit so they can write for a big grant and you
And
take
write you in.
home. I'm like, and then you still serve. I'm like, I'm not telling you to not start the business. I'm just saying to do it and make money. So
So Jesse's not, but I'm going to tell you, don't start there. Don't. The marketplace, yes, you're going to, I understand. I understand, and I do understand the need of wanting to take charge. I am a full-time professor at Trinity, adjunct at Temple University. So I still have very stable situations
yes,
in still being an entrepreneur.
yeah,
It's tough.
it is.
I don't have young kids. I
Mhm.
have a granddaughter that I can see when I want to see, and I travel the world. So I am able to kind of maneuver in these spaces. But the key to like real sustainability into being an entrepreneur is to have piles and buckets of income or streams. And I'm
Yes,
telling Warren Buffett was, if one thing I learned from Warren Buffett is definitely those seven. I think it's Warren Buffett, seven
yes,
streams of income.
100%.
Maybe it's not seven, maybe it's four, maybe it's six, whatever it is to you. For me, if one dies, slow down, the market changes and that, and I haven't quite figured out that, I have another thing to have a backup for, right? So I don't take for granted that my talent is going to always get me through.
Yeah.
You gotta,
But I think that is so real because that's where honestly I'm at now. Like I actually have someone that I'm trying to get on here that's going to talk about financial literacy because that is something that even I have someone's talking about it that's on my Hustle Free Entrepreneur. So if you are an entrepreneur that's in the event space, I have a separate podcast that's geared towards that. I have someone coming back on the other podcast, and because the reality is as I talk to different entrepreneurs is that often they're not able to save for retirement. They're not in the position to even get out of debt or any of those things because they put all their eggs in that basket. And the thing is you don't want to realize that when you're 60.
yeah. So, and then I'm just now realizing. So I don't know if you know this, but my speaking career is all in the event space, venue side, meeting planning side, all of that. So when you see me at the associations, it's because I've engaged with the meeting planners. So are you going to look? We could talk about this later, but
Okay.
another way to do this thing, especially if you're in a specific niche, like an event industry, is kind of join the membership of say PCMA or meeting planners, or I think they have an independent meeting planner conference as well. I think they need to hear these things. I have identified that my entrepreneurial journey will look much like it was when I first started. And here's why. Because there's a lot of things to get in a short amount of time for me. Retirement may not look like traditional retirement because I have a nonprofit. So my retirement comes into actually building a legacy for that nonprofit until I
Mm,
perish, right?
yeah.
And in order to do that, I have to get cushioned in this
Yeah.
space. So I may have another 9, maybe even another 14 years of working, maybe. maybe working traditionally.
Yeah. But that's ultimately that's the play. Like I wish that
Yeah.
we had more people talking about that. Like my uncle, when he did this, my mind was blown. Like, I wish that more in our community we saw this. So he was a veteran. He did that. Then he was in the police force and he was strategic with plugging money away, aggressively putting money into retirement, doing 4K, had his property, different things like that, or has his property. And so when it was time for him to retire, he was able to retire and get his pension, but the part about it is that he always had a business on the side. And so he trains track and field hopefuls because he's in San Diego. And his thing that he did when he was in youth and also was that he did mixed martial arts and trained track hopefuls.
Oh,
So what
wow.
happened was that when
Okay.
he retired, so my uncle's probably I would say late 60s or something. So he's been working for himself
Okay.
now for a good solid 10 years. And so once he retired, he went straight into running his own training business. And so he's getting his pension, his full pension, then he has whatever he's getting from his investments when he strategically pulls out of that. But then he has these full contracts
Right.
that but like you
Excuse me.
said, like it's you having different buckets. And so when I saw him do that, I'm like, that's genius. Like I wish that we saw
And
more of
it's
that.
is effortless. It's
Uh-huh.
effortless. Well, because we've gotten to my perspective is that many of us have gotten to an escapism mode,
Yeah.
and that working has now become a bad word. I want to work
Uh-huh.
smarter, not harder. I don't even know what that means, to be honest. That means something different for each person. I work smart and hard,
Yeah.
and I'm okay with both, right?
Yeah.
I'm not looking to be exhausted, but I think we're moving into, I mean, being a professor in this communication space, I'm starting to see that people communicate that they want to always be on vacation. That's the one question I get all the time. Like,
Really?
when are you going to take a break? How don't you know I take a break every time? Every time I travel, I speak 1 hour and I'm at a
Yeah.
conference for days.
Yeah.
So, like, you don't think I get a break in these spaces of
Yeah.
some sort, or I don't want to always be on. This is naturally me. When I don't want to engage anymore, I just don't. I
Yeah.
go, okay, it's time for me to leave the party.
Yeah.
There's there's a time for business and there's a time for leisure, right?
Yes.
It's about the planning. I don't think I knew, if you asked me this 10 years ago, even when you first met me, I probably would have been like, no, you got to kill yourself. But
And create
I
this
found some
new,
synergy.
yeah. Yeah.
I found some synergy, and I just realized that I do like to be on and I do like to work because I love what I do. So, like, I love what I do. I'm able to choose it. And as an entrepreneur, so I facilitate courses for Goldman Sachs 10KSB program. And I
Uh,
think I've been doing 10,000 small businesses.
yeah.
And I think I've been doing this for about 8 years, seven. This might be the eighth year. And their program is geared to scale businesses, small businesses in the sense of they're working with millions of dollars. So it's not micro small, but it's in the
Yeah.
small business field. And I'm fortunate to do it for Baltimore and then for the national cohort. So I get to see business owners around the country and within this region.
Mhm.
And what I notice is, especially now, people are starting businesses to keep for themselves. One tip, this if this is the only tip you leave people leave with, is you need to start with building your business on how you're going to sell it.
Yes. I like that book, Built to Sell.
Succession first. Yeah, you build it to sell it.
Yeah.
And so even if you never sell it, you are not attached to it. That look, my students, my scholars, last cohort, I was like, hey, so who was selling business for $2 million today? 2 million, just 2 million. And no, everyone said no. No one said anything. I said, who's made 2 million in the last 10 years? Right?
Yeah.
Very small number. Think about, we don't understand. So you take that 2 million, and
Mhm.
if you haven't made 2 million in the last 10 years and you spent, let's say, even a half a million, on building the business in 10 years, then take that 500,000 and build another business.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you have 1.5 million.
Yeah.
No?
Yeah. But
So,
I think it's how it's positioned online. I think that so many people equate that to like their self-worth. I mean, when I first started, I honestly, once I realized like, oh, I can't do it all and I don't choose to do it all. And I'd rather leverage other people's greatness and what they love to do. Like if you're a chef, I'd rather have you working with me than me trying to do it
yes.
myself, you know. But then with the shift of how the market is now, and definitely since the pandemic, I've been in a place like, okay, if I sold, how could I with where, you know, with all the tariffs and all that, I'm like, all of the profitability and the things that would make it a lucrative business are now getting sucked away. So then it becomes, okay, where do you take this? And I think that by having that in the mindset of someone is like, if even if I can't sell this, if I mean not if I can't, even if I don't sell this, how do I create something, or am I creating something that could be where that even if you go on vacation, things don't fall through the cracks. Like I've have family members that have very lucrative businesses, and one is in the funeral home, and she probably won't listen to this anyway. So she has a funeral home business, and she's had this for a very long time. So let's just say it's a seven-figure business. But the thing is that she's still at the core of it. So she's still taking phone calls, even at 70 plus years
Yeah.
old. Like it's
Yeah,
all her
absolutely not.
identity.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's all her identity,
absolutely not.
and I
Absolutely.
don't want
We
that.
you should get out of if you're going to start being an entrepreneur, you can build the brand of you representing the brand, but don't
Yeah,
make you the brand.
no.
If I could give anybody that, like, don't make you the brand. I know people see me out there and like, you make you the brand, not for my corporate stuff. For my
Yeah,
speaking stuff, it is because I'm speaking.
yeah,
Not
yeah,
for my corporate stuff, it is the company because you may or may not. You can get Sherron at a premium
yeah,
because it's how this works, right?
yeah,
My time is costly,
yeah,
but you're buying the business. They're buying the business. That way, when I think I'm gone, I'm out away from this earthly space, the business can be, my children can sell the business. My husband can
yes,
sell the business because they don't
yep,
want to work in this business. It's sellable
yeah,
and then they can profit from whatever they need to.
yeah.
That's the idea.
And that's the goal when you're building a business, running a business or building a business, definitely over 40. So like for those of you, I mean, granted, you may be in a place where right now you're like, I just need to make some extra money because X, Y, and Z. Like
Yes.
that is one thing. But we're talking about for those of you that are like, I have this goal and I'm just gonna YOLO it and throw myself out in the wilderness in 2025. Um, not saying that you shouldn't.
They're like, I understand what's happening. Yeah, I understand. I understand.
Is a challenge. So you want to do this wise and smart, especially. And here's the thing that there's a lot of really amazing people that have been able to build awesome companies and brands after 40. So this is not to say to not do it, but also it was a strategy behind it and an idea behind it. So I think that at some point for entrepreneurs, it's really coming down to the point of like, let me be real about my business.
Right,
Like,
right,
let me be real
right.
about what am I really building? Like, I hate that, and this podcast came about because I feel that there was so much around just hitting 40. Like, it's kind of like everything's down and like it's such a negative connotation. And I'm just like, no. I mean, like,
I don't see. So what? I'm on the other. I'm a decade above.
yeah,
By bypass that, right? So I'm
yeah,
trying to channel when I turn 40. I don't think that, or my group, it could be my group of friends. We
yeah,
didn't have, so I have friends who were 40 plus, like
yes,
44 or what have you, and they hate it. The thought of getting older
yeah,
is fearful.
yeah,
And I can tell you this, I never had, I probably was rushing the 40 or even the 50. I think about when I turned 50, I was like at 49, I was counting down
yeah,
365 days to get to 50, right?
yeah,
It's a different decade for me
mm,
about understanding because my children, they're 7 or 8 years away from 40.
Oh, really?
And yeah, yes,
Because I knew that I was thinking 30, but that makes sense. So yeah, they just crossed over 30. Okay, that makes
yeah.
sense. Yeah.
They just crossed over 30, so 32 and 31. So eight
Yeah.
and 9 years to 40, which is a blink, right?
Yes.
Um, and they dread it. Or they're at
Mm,
30s and going, I know I'm young. And I go, no, you're almost middle age if we're
yeah.
talking about, but it is, we're heavy. As much as I love social media, the misinformation that comes out and the push to be youthful and to be success, and success looks like this. I think for 40 plus, for especially for my millennials and older millennials,
Mhm.
you all are like, what the hell?
I saw it as a good thing. Like for me, like, and that's why
Yeah,
I decided to do the podcast. 'Cause I'm like, there's such a negative. I'm like, if anything, I'm gonna be hella intentional now. Like I had some vision. Wasn't out here just like lollydolling like life. But I'm like, if I'm now 44 years old, I want it to be that the next 44 years is like I am clear. Like, how am I leaving a legacy? How am I impacting people? I've been saying like now that I'm 44, I'm like, if anything, I'm going to be super intentional. I want it to be that the next 44 years, I'm present to how I treat people, the legacy I'm leaving, how I love people. Like all of that is, very important for me. And that's what really drew me to do this. I'm like, I want for people to shift their mindset from thinking of it being this, oh my gosh, things are changing. Like, okay, they changed. I mean, they changed when you were 12 too. I mean, like we're always changing.
every it will always changing. And I think meeting these strides, 50 for me is like, oh, okay, well, I'm gonna do everything I want to do.
Yeah.
And I'm so tired of hearing you could have 26 summers, I could have no more summers.
Mm-mm,
This is not, even at 30, I could have not had not any more summers. I wish that I'd had the mindset, if I could change one thing, that I had the mindset of freedom to do what I want to do
mm,
instead of going, I have to wait until I get to a certain point to be able to do it. So with entrepreneurship, for me, the name of the game is the risk. Like, what
yes.
risk are you willing to take? Right. So I've always wanted to travel my blue events. I have these luxury blue global events,
Uh,
and I call it blue global now. Its name has changed, and it should be indicative of being global networking.
yeah.
Well, I just decided last week that I am going to Portugal and host an event because I have friends in Portugal who says, hey, even if it's 4 or 5 of us at a table, it is still networking and it's still blue global.
I
Let me tell
love
you what
that.
happened because of that. So I said, so I'm just going to come for my birthday week, right?
Mm,
I'm just gonna come for my birthday week, and I said 7 days in Portugal. I think I'm going to at one point go to Barcelona, right?
nice.
Because it's an hour and 20 minute or 2 hour flight or something like that.
Okay.
But it's nothing. So I said I'm going to Barcelona, and she said you should have one there. And I was like, wait, and I know a couple of people in Barcelona. Reached out to them. They said, yeah, let's do it. So now I'm hosting it. It's a risk.
Yes.
When I talked to my friend, I was like, okay, so when are we coming back from Barcelona to Portugal to Lisbon,
Yeah.
right? And she says, are you 100% sure you're gonna do this? I sent her my plane ticket. She said, it's already done.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Yeah.
It's done. And she texted me back and said, I forgot who I was talking to. Yes.
Yes.
When I say I'm gonna do it, I'm just gonna do it.
I love that. I think it's that unapologetic side that some people lean into. Like, I feel that it's something that we tend to be a lot more YOLO about. Like, because, like, what do I have to lose? Like, I feel like that's something, especially if for those of you that are very risk like avoidant,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would probably say entrepreneurship definitely 2025 and beyond is probably not your route.
That'd be, yeah, and that's the thing. Yeah.
Probably not.
And I don't mean it in a bad way. It's just that there's a level of tenacity
Yes.
because you are going to get, most of us, some of us don't, but you're going to get hit with a barrage of no's.
Yeah.
And if you are not 10 toes down and planted very tightly in your belief of providing a solution to someone's problem, whether it's service or product, if you aren't grounded in hearing the no's, you're not going to grow. You're going to
Yeah.
wilt. You're going to leave it alone. You're not going to water yourself. Like you're going to go, they don't need this. And so I need to do something else. And it's quite sad because you can feel dejected.
Yeah, 100%. So I would love for you to share as we wrap up for anyone that is in it and they're just trying to get clarity on how to navigate it. What's 1 to 2 tips that you want to give to them so that they can at least feel a little bit more encouraged as to navigating this next chapter?
Great. So the first one is, while understanding that you may have a great idea, specifically in this space, and it definitely when you're over 40, you want to be intentional how you move within your idea. Because that first initial idea is incredible. It makes you feel motivated, but you want to get clarity on how you can execute that idea, not just with 10 people, but is it popular enough for the money that you want to make? The second piece of this, I'm going to say this: everyone needs a circle. You need to find community. And I might add, go first with community. So get in a community of entrepreneurs and ask the questions before you get the logo and do all the fun stuff that you want to do and announce that you've started your business, Annie's Pies, or whatever it is that you want to put out there to do your consulting services,
Yeah.
because you want to talk to entrepreneurs who are already out there doing it. And there are many entrepreneurs who will provide you with kind of, let's call them secrets. I don't think that they're secrets, but they'll provide you with kind of strategies and kind of like, you may want to rethink this, so that
Yeah.
when you begin to do it, or if you decide to begin to do it, it is a concerted effort that then you could understand what's your fail point, what's your success point, when are you going to stop doing it, or when you're going to keep going.
Well, I love that you gave those tips because they are two that I think are extremely, extremely valuable because you don't want to be on an island by yourself at all, and definitely not if this is the journey that you're wanting to take. So, how can people connect with you?
So LinkedIn, Sherron Washington. I'm on Instagram at the SW Life. I'm on Facebook too, Sherron Washington. I'm around. Me and Jesse, I like Jesse stuff all the time. So if you see me, just reach out, and I'm friendly. I
Yeah.
start with hello. I'm always going, why we want to connect. I'm very intentional about connecting. So when you connect with me, don't be surprised that I go, hey, who sent you, and what you want to
Right.
do.
And what do you do?
But I'm open. Yes. And what do you do? What do you do? Right.
Oh, fantastic. Well, I appreciate you being a yes today. And I hope some entrepreneurs are able to hear a little bit of something that's going to make them think a little bit more. And for those of you that needing guidance on going that next step, or maybe it's been on the fence of like, do I do this? Like, there's a good way there's a way that everyone can make money and do something that they love. But I think it just takes intentionality and guidance to be able to do that. So I hope everyone enjoyed this conversation. Until the next episode.
Thank you for having me. Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Bye.